You know what? I arbitrarily just decided I'm gonna just go ahead and call it Legitical Response. That was the original name of the show that I wanted to do but was unable to do because I can't talk to a camera very good. I had to learn how to do what I'm doing right now. I couldn't just do it. I tried it for a little while. It didn't work. I couldn't talk and I had to do too many cuts and everything, and it was just kind of ridiculous. I didn't know how to talk to a camera kind of like I'm doing right now. So from now on, we're going to call this Legitical Response because that's what it is. It's news. I'm responding to it legitimately. It's a play on logic and political. Trying to put the two together is very hard, and it makes up something that doesn't make much sense, right? It's not even a real word, but it's a word I made up, so we're going to go with that. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? I hope you're having a good day. Everything is just peachy around here, if you know what I mean. Everything's going great here, but everything's not going so great around the world. The invasion of Gaza has begun, and we're getting all kind of stories coming in on this, and it's just, it's heartbreaking. You hate to see it. They did it to themselves, though. What can I say? I don't know what else to say because I'm vehemently against war. I dislike it at all. I don't like intervention on our part into something that we're not part of. I understand why some politicians feel the need to do it. Totally get it. Not necessarily agree with it, but I get it. I understand. It's just like I understand why we're supporting Ukraine the way we are. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I get why you're doing it, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like it. That's about it. But I had a story. Iran now have made out a statement that's saying that the U.S. will not be spared if the Gaza invasion continues, which, like I've been saying, it's more drops in the bucket. It's just going to keep on filling up until it overflows. It seems like nobody seems to be backing down whatsoever. I read another story earlier that an Iranian court has ordered that the United States pays upwards of $420-something million for damages in a 1980 hostage raid. After a coup that happened in Iran, some students stormed into the embassy over there and took like 50 Americans hostage. We had an operation called Eagle Claw where we were going to go in and rescue these people, but it failed. And there were some Iranian citizens killed, and I didn't read into it very deep, so I don't know exactly what happened, but we've been ordered by an Iranian court to pay like $420-something million. I wonder how that's going to play out. But, enough of that other depressing news. Let's get into something a little bit more local and a little bit more political. I got some good news for some, and I don't see how it could be bad news for anybody. Check this out, you guys. Johnson calls to bifurcate funding for Ukraine and Israel. This is very, 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 very good news to me because it tells me which direction Mike Johnson is wanting to go with legislating and appropriating. Very, very good news to me. If you've watched any of my other videos where I talk about Congress, you'll know exactly why that is good news for me and is also good news for the people of the United States, the citizenry, the great country of America. And we have one of the best populations in the world. Not saying that other people are crap. Just saying, I do take a little bit of pride in our country. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. We do pretty good for ourselves, I believe. But let's get into it, y'all. House Speaker Mike Johnson called on President Biden to split his $100 billion supplementary budget request between aid for Ukraine and Israel amid concerns that Republicans would not support a Ukraine package. Yes, that is right. I told the staff at the White House today that our consensus among House Republicans is that we need to bifurcate those issues, Johnson said Thursday in an interview with Fox News' Sean Hannity. And I couldn't agree with this more. And why I say that sounds good for the American people, that tells me that if he's wanting to bifurcate these things, that means he's going to do the same thing with the appropriations, and I really hope he does. That was one reason why I was excited for Mike Johnson to get in there, because he is a guy that I've heard say on the House floor in speeches, tell the American people and on the House floor that we need to split all these things up. We need these appropriations bills, these omnibus packages need to be separated and worked out individually, because there's way too much BS that is put in these things that the American taxpayer pays for, and we don't want to pay for it. So this spells real good news for at least the power of the purse. I'll put it that way. Biden's budget request includes $14 billion to support Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza and $61 billion for Ukraine's defense against Russia, alongside funding for U.S. border security and to support Taiwan. Ukraine has been an increasingly controversial issue among House Republicans who fought to keep Ukraine funding out of the continuing resolution passed at the end of September to keep the government running. Johnson said he still supports the Ukrainian war effort versus Russia, but that the House should focus on limiting spending. Now, we can't allow Vladimir Putin to prevail in Ukraine, because I don't believe it would stop there, and it would probably encourage and empower China to perhaps make a move on Taiwan. We have these concerns, Johnson said. We are not going to abandon them, but we have a responsibility, a stewardship responsibility over the precious treasure of the American people, he continued, and we have to make sure that the White House is providing the people with some accountability for the dollars. Amen to that, brother. He also criticized the Biden administration's plan for the Ukrainian war effort, saying the White House has not provided what the end game is for continued support. And that's right, he really hasn't. We don't know anything about their plans. You know, do they plan to just completely expel Russia? And like I've stated before several times, how come we're not trying to negotiate a ceasefire? That should always be on the table, regardless of any funding. I wouldn't rail against funding so much if they were at least trying. At least, telling us that they were trying. Lie to me if you have to. No, I'm just kidding. But it seems like they could care less. They just want to keep funding this thing. And therefore, since they want to keep funding it, I don't want to just keep funding death. I can't stand funding crap like that. We don't need to do it. I personally disagree with Johnson on this. I really think Vladimir Putin would be very stupid to try to go anywhere else outside of Ukraine. I mean, Belarus is already pretty much a Russian state. Everything else is NATO territory. That would trigger Article 5 and be a full-blown war, which I don't think Putin thinks he can win. I think he just likes poking the bear a little bit and then running off. That seems to be his MO. I mean, look what happened in 2014 when he took over Crimea. When I say took over Crimea, essentially the army base that was already there, the soldiers just came outside and said, this is our territory now. I know it's a lot more nuanced than that, but let's keep going. Johnson said the House will propose a standalone $14 billion spending bill to assist Israel, matching the White House request. A group of GOP senators introduced a bill to do the same in the Senate on Thursday. Israel has received strong bipartisan support for its war against Hamas, which was sparked earlier this month after 1,400 Israelis were killed in a surprise attack on mostly civilians. Yeah, one thing I noticed the news isn't reporting on a lot is there's been like 6,000 Palestinian deaths. Yeah, that was just the numbers that I saw last. One thing that the House Republicans are resolved on is that we must stand with our most important ally in the Middle East, and that's Israel. We will, Johnson said. We certainly hope that it doesn't come to boots on the ground. But funding is the key at the end of the day, he said. We deeply care and are concerned about all nations of free people around the world, but we have to take care of our own first. And so that's also part of the delicate calculation and the decision. And I couldn't agree more with that. We have been known for being very generous to people around the world. But if we have major issues at home, well, how the hell can we be expected to clean up other people's house if our house is in chaos? Which we just came out of some chaos in the literal house. But we have a plethora of issues around the United States right now. I mean, inflation is still very, very much of a thorn in our side right now. People are having trouble paying their bills. I am having trouble paying my bills. I don't make a whole hell of a lot of money. I'm one of those type of people. I live paycheck to paycheck. And sometimes I live paycheck to the day before my paycheck. You know, there's a lot of times on the day of, I have to skip lunch, or, you know, I don't eat breakfast, can't go to the store and get a drink because I don't have any money at all. And I understand that I'm not even making minimum wage. I'm making more than a lot of people, so I can only imagine how much some other people that make less money than I do are struggling right now. You know, food prices are up. Of course, we all know this, right? But we really need to take care of home before we can take care of other people. And the outrageous spending that we're doing in Ukraine isn't helping anything. I mean, sure, it may be helping them, but it's only hurting people over here. And like I said before, how can we be expected to clean up other people's house if our house isn't taken care of? That's just my personal conviction. That's what I believe. I don't mind helping other people, but if we need help here, we need help here also. You know, Biden has been an ultimate failure, in my opinion. He's dropped the ball with just about everything he's done, and the polls show it right now. His approval rating is only 37%, and I'm surprised that it is 37%. I mean, this guy hasn't done anything right, in my opinion. The only thing he's done that I know of, at least, that was okay was the CHIPS Act. And there was a lot of that wasn't okay. Some of it was, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. I'm personally pleased with what's going on right now in the House. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me how you think all this is going to work out. How you think Mike Johnson is going to do as Speaker of the House. Is he going to be able to get anything done? Are we going to actually send $61 billion to Ukraine? I know for sure they're going to send at least that $14 billion to Israel, which, do they really need that much? Come on now, guys. I don't really think they do. Israel is a very rich nation. You know, if anything, and I'll be honest here, and I know some people might scoff at this, but don't you think Ukraine needs that more than Israel does? And you know how I feel about Ukraine, but it just doesn't seem like Israel needs it. But I really don't know. I'm not Benjamin Netanyahu, so I have no idea what their actual needs are. It just seems to me like they're very sufficient at what they're doing. They don't seem to need our help. I know that we want to help them, and wanting to help somebody and helping somebody because they need it are two very, very different things. But like I said, you guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because like I always say, I cover political news, mostly political, some cultural stuff, but mostly political news that you're not going to hear in the mainstream, and I give you my take on what that news is and how I think that news is they're lying to you, or if they're telling you the truth, or what. Give you my opinion, tell you what I think. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and have a good one, and be positive. Peace.